they did, and he knew they were there. He then did a second game in a row, just not thinking about it, just because everything else was going on in the game. And, well, if we get to see some turrets at some point today, which I'm sure we will, it'll be very interesting to see how that all turns out. For now, though, guys, it is time to kick us off into this best of 5 game number 1. Second series of the day, as we have to the bottom left-hand side, the Red Terran from Wind and Rain. This, my friends, is Sol. He is going up against the Blue Prowler to the top right-hand side of the map from Wolf's Lair, Hellraiser. And Sol will open with the Proxied Barracks here, which isn't all too crazy. The Proxied Barracks is actually becoming more of a common opener in TVP, simply because it's just a build which kind of allows you to pressure early on and set up into a bit more aggression than usual, while still eventually heading in towards a macro game. There's very few circumstances in which this kind of build sets up, and it's just going to put you super far behind as the Terran. You know, you'll see Hellraiser here will scout across the map. He'll see the lack of a barrack, so he'll know to be a bit more careful. What's actually great for Hellraiser, he already has a second gas on the way, so he's already intending to play more one-basey or more aggressive on the opening, and that's exactly what you want against this Proxied Barracks, because you don't want to throw down the Nexus as quickly as usual, because you're just going to have pros spawning on the low ground and being picked off while you kind of run around silly trying to chase down a Reaper. So this will originally be a Reaper from Sol, and he'll probably build the factory at home. That's the usual way that this tends to go. I am a little bit afraid of Hellraiser's possibility of throwing down maybe a Stargate or something over on this side of the map, so that's something that could definitely happen, and he will throw down the pylon here at least. So he's looking as though he might try and counter proxy Stargate. Be interesting to see how that does turn out. Now the factory starts from Sol, so it's a proxied factory too. So Sol's actually going to proxy everything here on Extraction. Again, I mean, we haven't had much of a chance to talk about the map, but let's very quickly go through this as these proxies get set up. Main base, very standard, very regular. I wouldn't say it's all too crazy. Natural expansion is pretty well set up as well, you know. I mean, it looks pretty normal. It has some rocks to the side which can be abused, and that will lead you down to another base, as this is generally going to be your third. The big thing is the naturals pointing towards each other, and that's where that King Sejong Station feel comes into play. In general, I kind of like this map. In general, it feels like this map's been setting up pretty well. As you'll be seeing, this Adept is chasing that Reaper down, and that Reaper having to run away out of the main. So Reaper runs out of the main right here, and we're just going to be joined by a Marine or two. Again, the factory proxy, which means at this stage, everything will be proxied. That doesn't bode well, though, for the proxied Stargate on the other side of the map. It means that Hellraiser is very likely to find a lot of damage here as he gets set up and ready to go into that in the very near future. The Oracle is already being Chrono boosted, and as this Reaper continues to try being aggressive at the moment, well, let's see what it can do. Adept is going to chase after that Reaper and might actually finish up to get a shot or two off. Actually just one shot, and then he gets a shot, and a Marine will pull back without losing more than its shields. But the Cyclone coming forwards, this will start to cause some issues. You're going to see the Reaper grenade going off as well. Reaper cleaned out, but it's the Cyclone pushing forwards that is really going to cause issues here. Guys, you can see in the picture-in-picture, the Oracle is currently approaching the main base of Sol. Those in the bottom right of your screens, you're going to see that Oracle forcing the SCVs to pull away, while this Cyclone and Marine Force tries to get damage done on this side of the map. Shield batteries on the way. Another Stalker being going down. Adept taking some damage. He needs this Stalker. The Oracle running out of energy on the other side of the map. The SCVs can get back to mining, but there's another Oracle being built. This Adept alone is not going to be able to fight this here. Now the Stalker coming in. It's actually the Adept that was being healed by the shield battery, though. 2 more shield batteries. Adept goes down, and now these shield batteries in some trouble. Pros will pull in once again. Another Oracle shows up on Sol's side of the map. Again, you can watch that in the picture-in-picture as SCVs have to pull in once again. Sol is down by 10 workers, but a Liberator showing up. It's definitely Sol who has the advantage over on this side of the map. Stalker gets towards the shield battery just in time. The Liberator sieging up now. Hellraiser has lost a lot of workers himself. The probes on the low ground go down. The Stalker, I mean, there's just not the economy here from Hellraiser to build as much as he really needs. This Marine falls. This Cyclone might go down too. But again, the SCVs are going to get back to work. However, there's another Oracle being made here. So there's going to be another Oracle showing up very soon to continue chasing those. Liberator turns around. The Hellion here is going to get taken down without issue. And without a Hellion, the Liberator is kind of exposed. The Stalkers, oh, they take a shot though from the Liberator. Again, the other side of the map, the Oracle is back in there. And once more, Sol is losing SCVs. Liberator pushed away. a Phoenix being built now so you can deal with Cyclones more easily and this Liberator, and that Cyclone Force or that Phoenix will probably come across the map to help do that here. Again, as we look in full focus now on these SCVs, you can see there's just not enough of them. GG. What a crazy game number 1 to get us started in this series. Crazy. I just have a second laptop in the game, and it just means I can capture card that through to keep track of anything going on. Alright, well, game number 2. Just need to quickly edit the title of the stream. I forgot to do that in the last break as I was getting videos set up. Alright, so let's get this going. We're actually going to be starting here in the upper left-hand side of the map here on King's Cove. Let's hear some cheers in the chat, please, for Hellraiser, our Blue Protoss player. Up 1-0. If you're cheering on the Terran, well, it's time to make yourself heard in the chat. And I want to hear you in the chat. You know, spam some names, make some dumb memes, copy pasta a little bit, do what you want. Let's hear some love for these players. To the bottom right-hand side, it is Soul. What's up, brother? Saying, wow, I'm happy I found you. Well, great to have you with us on the stream as well, dude. Thank you very much for joining us today. Again, if you're new to the stream, please, say hello. Come say hi. I'd love to say hello right back at you and meet you all if you're new to the stream. But also, just remember, hit that follow button, see when we go live again in the future with more StarCraft 2 action. Again, I cast pretty much every single day on the channel. The only days I'm not casting is because I'm probably casting on another channel or because I'm taking a slight day off. But we do try and stream every single day, which is, yeah, it's pretty awesome. I love it. I'm very fortunate to be able to do this. It's been a lot of hard work to get in this position, but I'm very fortunate that we've been able to make it work so far, and I've been able to dedicate my life to StarCraft. I made a tweet earlier whilst I was playing against Dark in GSL vs. the World. It was a very simple tweet, which is, how can you not love StarCraft in 2018? And I really genuinely just believe it. Like, how can you not love this game right now? We have some of the best players in the world actively playing on a regular basis. We have content all over the place. We have multiple big offline tournaments. We've got such a strong online scene as well. It's really crazy. Like, the game is just so good right now. It's in such a good place. It's so good to see the viewership going up for events. Home Story Cup had better viewership than last year. GSL vs. the World outshone viewership of last year already as well. Absolutely crazy, as we will see this probe of Hellraiser is pushed away by the Marine. But I showed it on the screen, and let's look at it now as we see this Stargate currently on the way up. And it will be joined by a gateway, so again, Hellraiser is completely one base. Maybe this is what he intended to show us in that last game, because he was setting up with double gas already, but he obviously had to change things up. He didn't change things up, but he did proxy the Stargate anyways. But he kind of, you know, that maybe was more of a responsive play to Soul, and he didn't proxy a second gateway. Now, maybe he does actually, you know, maybe this is what he always wanted to do, as Soul will have a couple Cyclones on the way through here. Hellraiser adding an extra gate at home as well, means he's going to be on triple gateway. Let's go, Hellraiser, says Buff in the chat. Brevis cheering on Hellraiser as well. Good to see some cheers coming all around. Correct is cheering on Brotos. Lewis TKK with the Terran cheers. Well, you better cheer for Terran right now, because an Oracle in the middle line is actually going to be locked onto, though. And these Cyclones already getting some damage done. So this Oracle already picked off here. And two more Cyclones on the way out currently. Looking good at the moment here from Soul. Looking good. Good initial defense. Two deaths will shade up, but I don't think they really want to commit through. Better stay on the low ground where they actually will guarantee themselves some SCVs. If the Cyclones come to the low ground, next Oracle into the main could obviously cause some issues. Adepts will threaten to shade on by. And those couple of Cyclones continue to chase those Adepts away. Oracle back into the main source. And again, Hellraiser's starting to find some damage, but there's the new Cyclone showing up. This attack will continue. Void Ray on the way out right now as well. And as that Void Ray pops in the next few moments, we do just see those couple of Adepts coming back up towards the upper side of the map. Three Stalkers warping in aggressively. What's interesting is that these Cyclones coming across the map could definitely force us. Oh no, this Adept turns around into the Cyclones. It could definitely force warp-ins at home, which is the last thing Hellraiser wants to be doing while he sets up with this aggression on the front line. So here we go, some Stalkers of Void Ray coming forwards right now, and SCV already being picked off. The Mule going to have to pull away as well. I mean, this Natural might have to be forfeit, but what on earth is going to have to be forfeit from Hellraiser across the map? Stalkers will start to warp in, and 3 Stalkers, I mean, he's going to lose power to these 2 gateways as well, which in itself is a massive issue. Oracle will come in, forces the Cyclones to lock on for a moment, which means they aren't attacking the Stalkers. Another pylon here targeted down, this pylon as well going to fall as Hellraiser in some trouble in his main base right now. Across the map though, I'd like to say he's getting some damage done, but he really isn't. And these Cyclones, I mean, this Void Ray shows back up over here. Stalkers to get some damage done. Cyclones just lock straight onto the Void Ray. It goes down, and Hellraiser has no option other than to type out GG. Game number 2 goes the way of Soul, and again, some Alexandra by the Young Rustler. As we kick off to the bottom right-hand side of the map, our blue Terran player from Wind and Rain. This, my friends, is Soul. Holding off the aggression of the Protoss player there in game number 2 to even out this series 1 game apiece. I mean, both these players playing aggressively so far. Hellraiser from the first game looked as though he intended to be aggressive in the second game. Obviously got to follow through. And Soul was a little bit less aggressive, but going into those Cyclones sets him up so well to defend against what Soul was doing, what Hellraiser was doing, sorry. It was a little bit of a shame for Hellraiser, because he did miss out just a little bit there, I feel, on what was going on. So Soul bottom right to the top left-hand side of the map, our red Protoss player from Wolf's Lair is Hellraiser. As we get set up into game number 3 of the series, it's time to see who'll take this one and take it on to match point. Port Alexandria has been a weird map. This comes in from the macro category of the map contest. The map contest split into 4 categories. Standard maps, which is your generic, your catalysts, the words escape me, catalysts, black pinks, for example. Maps which are not crazy macro favored. You can't take 4 bases without, without having any defense up at all. But they're also not difficult to expand on. They're just very standard, they're not too large, they're pretty regular size. Then you have the second category, which is macro maps. So your Darkness Sanctuaries, your Dusk Towers, those sort of maps which have in-base expansions, Proxima Station, Backwater, 16-bit. Those larger maps which you can take 3-4 bases on much more easily. And then for this map contest, we had 2 challenges. The first challenge was to build maps which have closer main bases by air rather than by ground, which is what we saw in map number 1 of this series, Extraction. And the other challenge number 2, was to have maps with neutral missile turrets. And I'm sure we'll be seeing some of those at some point today. Anyways, my whole point of talking to you about this is that this map is coming in on the macro category. The same as the last map. So the last map was macro category, but still saw a bit of cheese. This map, Port Alexandria, macro, and so far throughout the tournament, we've not seen much of a longer game on it. We've been seeing pretty fast games, pretty quick games. It's kind of been weird, and even when we kind of see mid-game kind of matches on Port Alexandria, they've still been very focused on, for example, TLO yesterday walked queens across the map to end the game on this map. Like, it's a little bit crazy. It's a little bit weird that a macro-focused map is seeing these strategies. We'll see if that's going to change up here. Now, nothing too crazy this time. No proxies or anything. Both players have expanded in the early stages. The reactor on the factory means we already see 2 Cyclones on the way out here. And on the main base of Hellraiser, we see 2 more gateways. No tech just yet. So very gateway-focused. Maybe even a Robo for Warp Prism to keep up the aggression with those gateways. We'll see very soon. He is going to proxy a pylon, so it definitely looks like he wants to apply some pressure, but against double Cyclone production, not going to be easy. Thank you very much. I stole my car 15 for that Twitch Prime sub coming in. Thank you so much. I guess some love in the chat for I stole my car 15 and it's Twitch Prime, supporting the channel and supporting the StarCraft content that we're putting out here. So it is a Robo facility, which again makes a lot of sense, because behind this pressure of Stalkers, you'd probably expect to see a Warp Prism, and then towards some Immortal production before a Twilight Council starts to lead you into Blink or so. And this is interesting too, though, because Soul did bring a couple of SCVs with these Cyclones. No shield battery at the front, and if he loses that pylon, obviously, I mean, this is actually just crazy, because Hellraiser's units are going to be out of position. Cyclones arrive, and Hellraiser might actually just have to recall back home. Okay, he actually sends some units forwards, but with 2 more Cyclones on the way out, I'm not sure how successful that will be. Hellraiser's already pulling up to the high ground here as these Cyclones will continue. 2 Hellions showed up. They're going to go and chase down those probes. More Stalkers warped into the main base. On the other side of the map, Stalkers have arrived, but there's nothing on the low ground for them to really do, and those probes are already starting to be in some trouble. He will start to clean out the Cyclones, but what does clean out the Cyclones mean if you're still losing probes to these Hellions? Well, that's obviously an issue as we see these Cyclones pushing those Stalkers away as well. These Hellions just taking so long to get rid of. He comes out of this with a 7-worker deficit. The game seems like it will go on, but not a great setup from Hellraiser to get things started. What's up, Depot027, Skyflow, and Alcazaz5. It's great to see so many of you here for the first time and saying hello in the chat. Hello right back at you. Great to have you with us. Enjoy the games today. We've got 6 best of 5s in total. This is only the second of them, so we really got a lot of action to come your way. There's a couple Stalkers. We'll just sit off over to the right-hand side here. More Stalkers continue to come over to the far right as well. A couple of Cyclones popping out, and we'll get ready to move in towards the upper left once more. Well, now there's a bunker over here, so that bunker obviously will create a couple of issues. Going to put the Cyclones on the picture-in-picture, guys, so you can follow the aggression in towards the Protoss natural, as we see the Protoss player, well, actually might not be able to get much done over here anyways. Those Stalkers are just going to start pulling back, and looks as though he will recall anyways, so we can actually just join the Cyclones ourselves. And, well, again, the Cyclones not going to do much more. Still no pile on low ground, which is very strange, because generally you'd want to be able to warp in on the low ground quickly if required to. But that's not going to be done just yet here. As you do actually see, the Stalkers grabbing the Cyclones in the middle. We'll get a bit of a surround and kill those off. So a couple of Cyclones picked off here now. The +1 on the engineering bay on the way up, so already getting in towards further upgrades to aid his cause. Soul continue to set up into this now as we have an observer of Hellraiser coming back down towards the bottom right-hand side. Okay, he's going to go for a very aggressive follow-up, and to be fair, I can't really blame him. Having lost a bunch of SCVs, being down on a bunch of pros, being down on workers in this game, it means that, as Hellraiser in this situation, he has to do something to get back in it, and one big all-in might just be one of the better ways to go about it. He still has a pylon over here, his Warp Prism popping out. He has the tech to do this with this robo facility being up, and well, here he goes. Starting to push across to the other side. I mean, the problem is Stimpak's going to be finished, the siege tank's up, and without Blink to get on top of those siege tanks quickly, it's going to be very difficult to deal with those, because they are just going to get so many shots off. And I guess the real hope is that the Zealots can just charge in and maybe close the distance a little bit and do enough tanking. As we see Marines starting to set up, starting to move forwards here. One Marine going to take position out onto the map. Getting this one Marine of Soul, just trying to see what's going on. Weird to say, says Soul. I was searching for turrets for like a minute. The neutral missile turret means it's been non-stop. Is Soul going on siege now? He didn't see this army, but he will do now. A few Marines ahead of the rest. He salvages the bunker. Not a great start. Those tanks are much more exposed than they were just moments ago. And if he can get rid of these tanks quickly enough, maybe the Zealots will be able to do enough from there, but I'm not sure. Pulling back right now. Warp Prism in the main, though. Some Zealots have forced SCVs away. 19 workers have already gone down. Not a bad start, but Hellraiser is fighting into a Stim combat shield upgraded army with a +1 attack upgrade, which still has a tank alive as well. Warp Prism, has to be so careful here because the Marines can Stim underneath it. The Warp Prism starts to run, will get away, and that's essential. If he loses the Warp Prism, that is really, really bad for him. We do see these, the tank on the high ground is still going to be able to do a little bit. Some Zealots will charge into the mineral line again. No Blink on these Stalkers means them way more vulnerable than usual. With the +1 attack, these Zealots are just getting ripped to shreds. Warp Prism back in the main, and that's what Soul will maybe have the most trouble dealing with at the moment. He looks to try and warp in. Marines are approaching. Is there going to be enough Zealots here? The Warp Prism could be targeted down. No, the Zealots will protect it for the moment at least, but as the charge expires, it's going to be difficult to really deal more damage to this bio, which can just kite, micro, and stay away. Widowmine goes off, gets a Stalker kill here. A couple more SCVs just being built as well, as we'll see that Widowmine burrowing at the front too. I mean, the Widowmine is also going to help a lot with this. Hellraiser is still trying to make this work right now. Another couple of Zealots jumping up into the Prism as he tries to split them up. Just try and spread his army. He's getting to the point where Soul can split his army more convincingly as well. Widowmine gets a Stalker as they try and take down the command center. GG. Soul takes it. I plays to how the map is meant to be played. Alright, now we're into Automaton. I can take you around it a little bit after showing you guys the players. To the top right hand side, Hellraiser is our red Protoss, as he is to the bottom left hand side, the blue Terran player, Soul from Wind and Rain. This is the gold base I'm talking about, so you can kind of see how it's a bit weird. So your main base here, you move down to the natural. This is also a macro-focused map. And then you move off to the third base over here, or you can take a third base here and then maybe take down these rocks and mine from the gold. But the idea is you can't take the gold base early as a Zerg or something and just get a gold base income. So it's interesting. couple people asking about why Hellraiser tapped out in that last game. Guys, he had no upgrades apart from charge. He lost his entire army. He was completely all in with this attack. He was dead. The Soul moves across the map in the next couple of moments. He had to win with that fight. He was completely all in after being behind in the early game. Yes, he might have come out ahead in workers, but 10 workers ahead isn't even great. It isn't even great for Protoss. You're meant to be 10 workers ahead because of mules. So maybe if he was 20, 30 workers ahead, maybe then he can play it out and just outmass his opponent's higher tech army. But even then, I would say he's not done enough. He really needs to be able to get rid, put Soul into a GG out of the game position with that attack because he's so committed to it. The main is so huge, says Soul, and he's definitely not wrong. There's so much space over here. So much more room for activities, some would say. And definitely, I mean, that is potentially an issue, right? There's a lot of space where drops can sneak on in. There's a lot of space for, drops to set up, to unload, get ready to go. Doom drops to position. Also a lot of space to put in production nicely lined up as well. I think it needs to be large, though, because of the way this ledge does poke out to the side, because this ledge, in general, means you can siege up here and siege the main, perhaps, and also have a threat to push into the natural. In general, this map's interesting because I really feel you can just blink up here as Protoss, and I think that's very abusable. I'd kind of like to see Hellraiser trying to abuse this a little bit. This, by the way, was Gate Core before the Nexus, so it is a bit more aggressive than usual, and we've seen that in the form of this Zealot, which has wandered across the map, followed by this Stalker, which was Chrono boosted, and another Stalker already on the way up. Thank you so much, Boba Blitch, coming in with the 100 bits. Don't know what you're saying, but thank you so much for the 100 bits. I appreciate it. So you see the Stalker on the way down to the bottom left. So the SCV does get chased away by the Zealot. Tell you what we'll do, guys, as we see this Zealot's going to start doing some damage over here. We can pop the Reaper onto the picture-in-picture, so you can keep track of the Reaper while you watch this Zealot and Stalker force at the front try and get something done. You can see in the picture-in-picture right now, the Reaper's already hopping into the main base and is trying to get a probe kill. It's actually blocked by a Stalker. It might just go down here. In fact, the Reaper just gets away for now. So the Reaper surviving. Turn that picture-in-picture off as we see this command center still in some trouble. It was actually double barracks follow-up, so the factory delayed no opportunity to really go in towards a Cyclone here. SCVs have to pull down. He cannot let this CC fall. That would be game-ending if this command center went down so early in the game, and he would have to rebuild it. Now a couple of SCVs come down. One of them gets back to build and will give some more health onto that CC. Marauder here too should be able to go after that Stalker in a moment. No concussive shells though, so won't be able to just straight up kind of catch it and slow it down and get the kill, but will be able to force it back. So Soul survives, getting his command center set up here. Now Hellraiser has a pylon down on the south side. Is he going to continue playing aggressively? Well, the triple gateway would suggest yes, he is. His triple gates morphing into warp gates already now. Getting set up and ready to go as you see a few more Stalkers just warping in currently. Reaper comes through, grenade goes down and will be able to pick up a kill. Stalker is poking away on that Reaper, and Reaper is going to jump up in towards the main and is going to get chased away. The probes will not be in any trouble at all. I thought the probes might come in for Citizen's Arrest, but nope. Just going to be a kill from the Stalker. Marauders and Marines? Ooh, Marauder already going down, and this is some trouble. Soul actually lifts the CC. I mean, the CC is already low from earlier, so it will take some damage as it comes forwards. SCVs might have to put themselves onto that CC to start repairing. He gives up an SCV, but he will be able to repair on the high ground now. Command Center will stay alive, but Hellraiser has pushed Soul back into the main base. Soul's getting into a better position. Stimpak's about to finish this 2-1-1 setup. Is going to allow him to have Medivacs and Stim a lot earlier than usual. And Hellraiser will probably have to pull away from this side of the map at that stage and fall back home and get ready to defend his two bases with currently not really that much tech, just pure Stalkers. Microing against Stim Marines, definitely not easy, but it is possible. Hellraiser at a 12-worker lead already, in a decent position here so far. This series continues to be just aggression-focused in the early stages of every single map, and again, so far, we've generally seen the game end over this aggression. If there's a map which this game will go on, it probably is Automaton. It's large, you have a chance to really macro behind this aggression. Right now, Hellraiser needs to recall back home. He has nothing in his main base to deal with these Medivacs, and this main base is large. Soul said it himself, and so we'll see these drops unloading and preparing before he even gets seen. So Hellraiser has very limited amount of time to be able to see this. The Observer pops out. Oh no, the gateway is unpowered here by the pylon being killed. Recall on the natural because he doesn't have the energy in the main. Couple of Zealots and a Sentry here. The probes pulled away. He can't get power to his gateways though, so he has to clean us up with the army he has in these probes. Oh, well, Soul is getting some revenge for earlier in this game. suddenly he has 32 workers against the 30. And Soul, well, he's got another medevac of units coming across here. Hellraiser starts to repower his gateways, but this is really not a good moment for him. The Zealot will be taken down. Stalker's still trying to fight against this here. Force Field tries to grab a Marine, doesn't quite manage to just yet. Pylon 4, still no more Warbins, and as extra Marines show up, this is going to just be GG. Man, I really thought this game would go on, but Hellraiser not having a defense against the